Good morning. Guess who it is? Come on in. We're in my mini wine cellar. It's on the end of my china cabinet. So as you can see, I've only got 2 bottles of homemade wine left. Now you know that's not enough. We're going to go through those 2 bottles over the 4th of July holiday. So what I'm doing today, I'm going to brew up some more wine so we'll have some for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. So if you got one of those great big old china cabinets, put that thing to use and make it do something besides display those beautiful dishes that you got. Okay? So we're going to go into the kitchen here in a few minutes and we're going to show you how to make some wine. Okay, we're in the kitchen. I'm over in my little beverage area, right opposite the sink. You know, everything happens on these countertops. So this is my area in the kitchen where I keep all my beverages, and this is where I actually make the wine. So this is my little wine brewing corner. So what I've got here is some peach wine already started, or some peach schnapps, and as you can see, it's in a recycled juice bottle. They work perfectly well for me to brew this wine. So what I did for this peach wine, I went to the Food Lion. I bought 6 medium-sized peaches that I thought looked really good, but when I got them home, they weren't real sweet. So I decided, okay, it's wine brewing time. So in this 96-ounce jar, I've got 6 peaches. You don't have to peel them. All you got to do is cut them up, take the seed out, drop them in that jug, and to that, 1 cup of brown sugar. And what I did to get it in there, just pour some water in that brown sugar and melt it down, then pour it in there and fill that jug, not all the way up, but leave that much in there, because as these peaches start to ferment and that wine start to make, it sort of swells. And the other thing it does, every day, or at least every other day, uh, I go back and I loosen the lid, because when you get everything in there, you put the lid on pretty tight. I don't use any yeast or anything like that in it. I let this wine make on its own. So the only thing I have to put in here is the fruit, some water, and the sugar. Okay, so this has been brewing now for going on 2 weeks now. So now what I can do is I'm going to back that lid off, and I'm going to show you how the gases come up out of there. That's what ferments that fruit and makes it into wine. So what I'm going to attempt to do, and hope it doesn't shoot out after me, because I did not back it off yesterday, so this is like the second day, and you'll see why I said do not fill it up completely. So I'm going to go off and I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how I do it. Okay, I'm back. So now I'm going to let you see what I do to get this peach wine going. So look very closely, because I want you to understand this is a very tedious, probably the most tedious part of doing this wine. So this is what I have to do here. I'm going to take the jar, and just in case everything tries to explode all at once, I'm just going to go ahead and get me some paper towels ready, because sometimes you just never know. So what I have to do here is I'm going to, look, just watch what happens. I'm starting to back off the lid. Now it's sort of on there. I've kind of put it on there tight. I don't know, can you hear that little hissing? See how it swells up there? You got to have room for it to swell. You see those gases? Now, as it swells up, you got to watch it now, because you have to tighten it back up, and when you tighten it back up, it stops the swelling process. It stops that bubbling. But you see what it's doing? I'm going to move the camera back a little bit. See there? Watch that. I know what I'm doing, y'all. I don't have to do anything but fruit, sugar, and water. And in about 4 more weeks, I'll have some peach wine. It really literally only takes about 6 weeks to get this wine brewed up. So basically, that's how I make peach wine. That's how I make blueberry wine. That's how I make strawberry, apple wine, whatever kind of wine I'm going to make. If you're going to make it, save your jars like this. I wouldn't suggest the plastic, the opaque plastic. It doesn't work too well. I used that one time and it sort of exploded on me. But these kind of jars here so far, they have worked well. And remember now, every day, no later than every other day, once you get that fruit in the jug, the sugar in the jug, and the water in the jug. Tighten that lid up. Go and back that lid off and let those gases escape, because you got to let them escape. And you have to do it 2 or 3 times. And see, it still swells. I just do this. It probably sometimes it takes 3 or 4 times. It just depends on, see how it comes up there. And the minute you tighten on it, back up on it, it'll go back down. But remember, you have to continue to do that until all those gases escape. That way, when you tighten it back on there, it'll start the brewing process all over again. So again, I'm going to have to do this 3 or 4 more times. And when it stops bubbling up like this, then I'll leave it alone. The other thing that I do, based on how sweet I want the wine, and I like mine sweet, I'll probably put sugar in it 3 or 4 times. So to this 96 ounces, I'll probably have 3 cups of sugar in there when it all ends up. That's because I like it like that. It is wonderful. And let me tell you, at the end of that 6, sometimes 8 weeks, I'll taste it at 6 weeks. This stuff has a real kick to it. So because I have a low tolerance for alcohol, I normally end up making wine coolers with mine, which means I add other juices and put some ice in there, and it's wonderful. But if you like it strong, I'm serious. This stuff has a kick, and all it is that fermenting process. You don't have to put the hops in it, or you don't have to put yeast in it. Excuse me. At least I haven't to this point. So let's back it off one more time just to let you see. It's settling down, but you see, it's starting to settle down now. So I know that it's about ready to be tightened back up. Now, I've got 2 cups of sugar in here so far, so I'm going to wait until I back it off again, probably tomorrow or the next day, and I'll put me some more sugar in there. So depending on how sweet you want this wine, you should judge about the sugar situation. Now, the other thing that I do, I don't know if you're supposed to do it or not, because when I put the sugar in there, I just take it and I turn it upside down. That's a way of stirring my sugar. So as you see, all that, the gases and the fruits are on the bottom of the container now. Doesn't that look good? It's so pretty. I'm going to turn it back over. Now, do it one more time. Still got a little gas bubbles, but at least I know it's settling down, because you see now I can leave it off and it just seeps up. You just have to watch it because you don't want it to flow over. And remember, when you're backing that top off, don't do it all at once, otherwise you're going to have a mess on your hands. So I didn't have any mess today, thank God, so we're happy. So we got some, and look, when those gases spew out of there, you won't believe the fragrance. I wish you could smell what I'm smelling. Those peaches smell so good coming out of that bottle. See, it's oozing out a little bit now. So we don't worry about that a little bit. Well, I could really have tasted that. Y'all know I like to taste stuff. It's almost as sweet as I want it. Yum, yum. Still got to put a little bit more sugar in there. And believe it or not, that amount of peaches will do what I want it to do. Now, again, because the flavor is so good, if you drink wine, even if you get some cheap wine, you can take this peach, it's almost like peach schnapps. You can pour it in a cup, add your little wine to it, or you can drink it just like it is. There are so many different things that I figured out that you can do with this that I'm just experimenting with it. So I've been doing this about 2 or 3 years, and some of my friends said, well, why don't you get you a winemaking kit? And I thought, I don't have anywhere to put all that stuff. I'm going to do it. It's working for me like this, and I'm just going to keep it like this. I got started making wine like this because some friends, about 2 or 3 years ago, these different friends were giving me all this different fruit. And I had so much fruit, and I don't like to throw away stuff. And I remembered from childhood how my mom used to put pears or peaches or whatever kind of fruit in jars and do this same thing, ferment it. But I think she used to put a little yeast in hers. And I thought about that process, so I just started getting me some jars, and I started throwing fruit in, throwing sugar on top of it, and letting it ferment, and it turned into wine. So for the last more than 3 years, actually, probably more like 5 years now. So I've been brewing the wine for the holidays And all my friends, especially my lady friends, they love it. They come by. I make them a wine cooler with it, or those that like a little bit stronger, we just drink it straight. So, okay, that's what my peach wine looks like. So now we're going to move the peach wine out of the way. I've also got some blueberry wine that I'm getting ready to brew up. Okay, I've already got my blueberries in there. That is 2 cups of blueberries, folks. Maybe some people never heard of blueberry wine, but I have. I'll make wine out of anything. So what I'm going to do, all I'm going to do to this is I'm going to put some sugar in it. And I'm going to put some water in it. This is another one of those 96-ounce jars, and I'll just fill the water up to there. I've got my brown sugar. That's a cup of brown sugar. And what I'm going to do with that brown sugar is just pour some water on it so it'll get softened up, and it'll be easier for me to get into the jar. So initially, you know, when you're doing this, it's not a big deal. Like I said, most stuff that I do, it's great and it's good and it's wonderful, but it's not all that difficult, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pour that sugar and water right on top of those blueberries. Right there, see? Let's move it back so you can see it a little bit better. See there? So what I'll just keep doing is I'll keep pouring water in until it gets filled up enough. And then, oh, excuse me, I don't know why I've got a frog in my throat this morning. But I'll just keep pouring water in there. See there, just pour the water. Pour, pour, pour. Later on, I'm going to get some muscadines. I don't know when they come out. I've got a friend that has a yard full of muscadine vines. I forget whenever they are in season, but she'll give me all that I can use. And I'll make some muscadine wine. Somebody asked me about muscadine wine. That was the first wine I ever made, or ever remember being made when I was a child. Because the neighbor, see there how it's even... I've been had those blueberries sitting in there. So sometimes with blueberries, you can just sit them in the jar a couple of days ahead of time. See how it's already starting to turn a purplish color? Can you see that? I haven't even mashed them or anything like that. I even thought about that. I may do that. You know how the winemakers do in the old country, how they get in there with their feet, clean their feet off. I'm going to say clean their feet off. Clean their feet off and get in there and start stomping grapes. So I'm not going to stomp these blueberries. I might stick a knife or something long down there and sort of mush them a little bit. But one thing about it, even if you don't mush them or chop them or whatever you want to say, or cut them up or anything like that, they will certainly blend, because over time that water will go into them and they'll sort of almost like melt, do a melting thing. I think one more container of water, and I believe, let's see. Yeah, we're going to leave that one to right there, because you leave it there, remember, for the swelling of the fruit, and also room to put your sugar in. Now, for people who like dry wine, I haven't made any dry wine except one time, and all I did to it was I put everything in the jar and just let it ferment. I didn't put it, and just, I had to put at least a tablespoon to knock that edge off, because I don't care for dry wine. I like my wine sweet. So anyway, this here is ready to go into the brewery. And when I say brewery, I mean it simply is ready to be, the lid to be tightened down on it, set it off to the side. I'm just going to smush these just a little bit, just to show you what I mean by smushing them. You can just smush them a little bit. Okay. So now this jug is ready, and I'm going to put the lid on. Really nice and snug. Not too tight now, because you'll get a suction on there and you won't be able to get it off. So that one's ready. So I'm just going to push it over there. And throughout the time that this wine is brewing, this is where I sit it. This is my little wine cellar in the kitchen. This is my little wine brewing area, rather, that I use right here in the kitchen. So we're going to dry this water up. And We're going to push it back to the back right there because it has to be out of the way so I can get to my coffee and stuff. So I've got a jug now of blueberry wine and a jug of peach wine. So by the end of July, first 2 weeks in August, that both of them should be pretty much ready because the peach wine will be ready a little bit before the blueberry one will. And it's going to go into those jars. I got a bunch of these little wine jars. I went to, I think, Pier 1 or World Market and purchased those jars, those jugs rather. And now this one here has its own little cork thing. The other ones, I've got some corks that I've kept over time. So these kind of corks here, I mean, this is like a cork out of a bottle of wine that I purchased. So whatever, it'll do. So now you know how to make wine. And I figured, somebody told me, you're going to get in trouble bootlegging. I said, well, Michelle Obama was making it in the White House because she had all those grapes. Nobody bothered her, so I can make it right here. And I invite my friends in. They come in, and we have a great time sipping and tasting Peggie's homemade wine. Toodaloo.